Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. The only thing that can hurt the Indians' pitching staff is an injury. Well, injury number one showed up today. Mike Clevinger was told he might not be able to hold a baseball for up to 6 to 8 weeks. And a baseball, as far as I know, is not that heavy. After his outing against Toronto, he pitched 12 innings, gave up 2 hits and no earned runs, 22 strikeouts and only 4 walks. I don't even want to project what that would be over a full season. Instead of complaining about the weak competition in the AL Central, start thinking what a great manager we have in Terry Francona. He's out to the best start in his career here in Cleveland, 7-3 in his 7th season. He doesn't have the keystone combination he needs in his leadoff man, but he does have a terrible offensive infield and outfield except for Carlos Santana. Wait till he gets Lindor, Kipnis, and Carlos González. 3 starters in an American League game means you lose almost 50% of your team. That's Hall of Fame managing. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd year, and of course, always seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Bud Shaw is here. I watched you tap dance through that open. I don't think you liked it in the beginning, and now you're somewhat addicted to it.
I like it. Yeah, the music is very catchy. It's a good open. I have some good news and bad news. How's that for starting off with
Start with will I know which one is which?
Well, I think you will. The good news is the 7-3 start is their best since 2011.
Right.
The bad news is they went 80-82 that year. So I think that was a maniac season. And
yeah, he thought it was easy.
Yeah, he thought he was off and running. But no, I think we've talked about this a little bit before, Les. It's not all about public perception in this town. But for the Indians, somewhat it is. I mean, they got raked over the coals as an organization during the offseason because they weren't spending money, and we know Paul Dolan said about Lindor. But so to me, it's important that they get out of the gate reasonably well so that when the weather does get nicer, when school ends, people are looking at a team that's in first place or a team that they think could be more competitive than they thought when the season began. And this one looks like that could happen.
Yeah, and they were at the beginning of other years they were struggling to get to and then over the 500 mark. But other than 2 horrible nights, they put in 35,000 and then 17 and 18. And I got to tell you something. That's not bad for Cleveland in April.
No, it certainly isn't. And with any luck, I know it's going to get cooler tomorrow, but they're out of town now until the 19th, I think.
Yes.
And when they come back, you would like to think that we're at least over that stretch where games start in 37 or 38 degree weather.
All right, so here you go with Cleveland beating Detroit today, 8-2. This is really a strange stat or happenstance. 4 home runs by guys who had not hit home runs before this year, and I think other than opening day, that's probably a record.
Yeah, and it's, let's face it, you're not going to suggest that you can count on those guys who hit them today to keep hitting them.
No, but thank you for that.
But they're going to get. I think Jake Bauers I don't know. Did he homer today? Was he one of the guys or not? I don't think he was. But I think watching him in the lineup, I think he's a guy that you can look at and say, with a lot of at bats this year, he might develop into an everyday player who's impactful.
8s were wild. The Indians 8 runs on 8 hits, and the Detroit Tigers came up with 8 hits also, but they slammed the door on them. All right, so the word is. It's kind of strange because yesterday Clevinger said, I'm okay, I won't miss a start. Yet there's some muscle in his back that is gone haywire on him, and he's not going to pick up a ball. Who knows, for 6 to 8 weeks, who knows how long that'll be before you can actually pitch a baseball.
Yeah.
Look at this graphic here, 12 innings in 2 starts, 2 hits, no earned runs, 22 strikeouts against 4 walks. Sensational.
Yeah, it was a terrific start, and if we didn't know it before yesterday, we know it now. The least trustworthy people to talk about injuries are the guys who have them. You know,
So
they all want to say, hey, I can make my next start.
Yeah.
I should be fine. It won't be out long. They don't know.
And if you're Trevor Bauer, if you're pitching a no-hitter and you're throwing 386 pitches, you can always say, yeah, bring it on. It's okay.
Yeah, and you know, you talked about Francona as a manager. And I know some people question some of the things he did during the postseason over the last couple years. But, you know, he was right to do what he did with Bauer. I mean, you can't let a guy, or you shouldn't let a guy go 117 pitches with 2 innings to go. That could have been 140 inning,
Sure.
40 pitch.
And you're not talking about June, July,
yeah,
August.
in April, and it just didn't make any sense this way.
All right, so
He'll get other chances with his stuff. He's going to be.
That curveball is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's going to be in that position again fairly soon.
And he's ticked.
Yeah.
That he's not ahead of Actually, it doesn't matter that he's not ahead of Kluber right now. But as long as it's something that keeps him going, it's okay with me.
Yeah, and you know, when the story was written that Kluber was named opening day starter and that that was a day that Bauer chose not to speak to the media.
Right.
You know, he objected to putting those two events together.
Right.
And said that he didn't have any issue with it. But we know from over the offseason, we know that he felt that he was better than Kluber last year.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And I don't think it phases Kluber at all. I don't think he's sitting there saying, why is this guy talking this way?
216-575-0403 is the number to call. And I assume you have a commentary here?
Yeah. I'm going to talk a little Indians, too. I know the Indians are your department, but I
No, I'm just here.
Hope you'll let me talk about them for at least
Do it.
a little while. The Mike Clevinger injury aside, I think Indians fans should be resting a little easier these days after the sweep of Toronto at home. I know the Blue Jays lineup is nothing much, but that doesn't mean we can't make some reasonable guesstimates this early in the season. So here are mine. Despite the injury, Mike Clevinger might be the most overqualified number 4 starter in baseball. Shane Bieber might be the most overqualified number 5 starter in baseball. They could both be pitching higher up in other rotations. Winning games any way possible while waiting to add Frankie Lindor, Jason Kipnis, Carlos González, and now Clevinger, when he gets ready to come back, is really important, and the Indians are doing a nice job of it. Because of Carlos Santana's ability to reach base, I don't think you'll miss Edwin Encarnacion unless somebody picks up the home run slack on a consistent basis. Unless they do that, you might miss Edwin's parrot. All in all, though, a good start by a team I think will still win the division comfortably.
All right, so you got this team with phenomenal pitching, and you have the fans who apparently winning a game 6-3 is not good enough. You have to pummel them 12-2, right?
Well,
can we just set the record straight here that all you have to do is win by 1 run?
Yeah, I mean, there was one game against Chicago where I made the point that you don't win those kind of games against good teams.
Right.
When the White Sox walked in 2 runs, let another one in on an error. But for the most part, you look around baseball, a lot of teams that you thought were going to be really good are also struggling.
We're going to investigate
right now.
that a little bit later.
So, you know, it's way too early to get too worked up about it. I think you have to like what you see so far out of these guys. And we know from 2016, Les, when they were counted out by a lot of people, that sort of forged something inside that clubhouse. And this could happen again if guys like Jim Bowden. Bowden? Yeah, who was on
former GM?
who was on radio today saying, you know, their lineup isn't very good.
Well, it isn't. We know that.
And you know, if they can only average 4 runs a game, they'll win, have the division wrapped up by September. I think the more if he continues to think that others continue to think that this lineup isn't that good after these guys come back, maybe they use that to their advantage.
Well, they're right. They're not very good right now. But let's say you add a healthy Frankie Lindor, Jason Kipnis, and González. That becomes a pretty formidable
if you believe
lineup.
that Kipnis can be a guy that was an all-star here a couple times in his career.
But it's
and
Lindor
you believe
that's the key on that.
Lindor is definitely the key. So getting him back will be huge, and then you have to hope that those other 2 guys are still impactful players.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine. Help me out here.
I'd say .com.
At gmail.com. I've had a lot of email
I didn't think you had gone to .org or anything like that.
Not yet. So you were 1 out of 2. That's not too bad. Thanks to Bud Shaw for his opening commentary. When we get and he mentioned Freddie Kitchens, and you and I have wondered forever how Kitchens gets a pass, no pun intended, hasn't coached a play yet, and Francona is on his way to Cooperstown. How are you knocking Francona and not knocking Freddie Kitchens?
Yeah, I mean, it's Freddie's 0-0. Hasn't lost a game yet.
That's true. That is good.
If you're a Browns coach, it's not the wins, it's the fact that you haven't lost yet. They give you every benefit of the doubt.
There you go. Well, he's not going to lose if his receiving core does what they're supposed to do. When we get back, we'll look at the Browns' receiving core depth. It's a little bit better than it has been. I think you'll all agree on that. Line is open if you want to get in, 216-575-0403. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine with new content posted each and every day. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively with Bud Shaw right here on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Now you got me going with the music. Curly Lambeau, he's not one of the Three Stooges. Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Claude Passot, born in 1909. Paul Arizin, the Basketball Hall of Famer. Nate Colbert, San Diego. April Showers, 1947. And Clarence Scott, one of the fine defensive backs for the Cleveland Browns. That's the Brown uniform they should have next year. But will you take that into whoever?
Well, I don't think they can make a change next year, but in the year, right? Aren't they?
Not this year, but the following year.
Yeah,
I want you to take that in and say, this is it, Mrs. Haslam.
I don't think it'll be what was the Pantone?
Wasn't that the helmet?
27 or something like that?
Wasn't that the helmet?
Whatever it was too orange.
Well, they wanted
I know.
What did they call it? The something impression of orange?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up here, so I'm not attached to the colors. I'm really not. I've always thought that they're, brown and orange aren't the greatest combination to throw together, but it looks better.
When you make them brown, dark brown. That's
yeah, I think that's a pretty good look for these guys. And I said to you, as long as they get that Browns or whatever, the words off the pants.
Now I think the Jets.
The Jets do that?
I think they've done it. No, they didn't put Cleveland on. That would be silly.
No, I meant
why would they?
The names.
216-575.
Well, they are the Jets, so you never know.
Yeah, 0403 is the number to call. Receiving depth for the Cleveland Browns. Let's take a look at it. Tight ends. Did you think they used tight ends enough last year or properly?
Yeah, I mean, in big spots, they ended up throwing some touchdowns to tight ends that I wouldn't have thought that those guys were going to be targeted in the red zone. But.
And Njoku, and of course at the valve, Pharaoh Brown, who played his high school ball at Brush High School here in South Euclid Lyndhurst, Demetrius Harris, and Orson Charles. Wasn't he on Match Game?
I think
Orson
that was
Charles?
Orson Bean.
Oh, Orson Bean.
Wasn't it? Or Orson Welles?
Orson Bean. The wide receivers, not bad. Odell Beckham, Antonio Callaway, Jalen Strong, Derek Willis, as well as Damon Sheehy Giuseppe. I'm sure we've never had that last name on the Browns roster.
Was he born in 1947?
No. No. Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Damian Ratley, and Blake Jackson. making up the wide receiving core. There you see what these guys did last year. Pretty impressive. Callaway had 43 receptions, 39 for Hollywood Higgins, 13.6 yards per reception, and 14.7 for Higgins. Touchdowns 5 and 4. Is that about what you would expect for?
Yeah, I would have bet, if you had said to people who had more yards per catch, I think most people would say Callaway because he just has that kind of speedster,
right.
Reputation. But Higgins, I thought was a real, I don't want to say breakout player, but he was a pleasant surprise, I thought, last year. He was a really good receiver. Well,
and you also have a situation where it looks like Callaway will get more targets. I mean, you got to double somebody, right?
Yeah, I think Njoku could end up having a huge year. Now, granted, he's dropped a lot of passes over the first couple of years of his career, but he's going to be more athletic and bigger and stronger than most guys trying to cover him. And there's no way.
You're comparing him to Verjao.
To Verjao?
Verjao, who because of LeBron James, wound up with a big contract.
Well, that's true. But Verjao was also never a good offensive player, was he?
Well, he made layups when he was open.
He was a good rebounder, and that's about it. But yeah, I think he's he clearly has to up his game a little bit to get Baker Mayfield to want to throw it to him when he has other options now of guys that don't drop the ball.
All right, a common topic out there, other than the fact that Odell Beckham apparently hates Cleveland, hates Ohio, hates everything. Aside from that, the topic has been, do the Browns, in fact, have the best talent in the division? You heard Harbaugh say yes. You've heard some other guys say yes. And some other guys are saying they haven't proven a thing.
Well, I think those are two separate questions, though. Certainly they haven't proven a thing.
Right.
But I think you can still look and see the talent on the roster and give them, pretty high props for what they've added to the team over the winter. So if they're not the best, I think they're up at the top of the list.
All right, when we come back, we'll break down the Browns against the rest of the AFC North. You can decide if that's, I don't know how you decide guards and tackles and centers, but we'll attempt it.
You start looking at Pro Football Focus, I guess, and trust that they know what they're talking about.
Then everybody has the same answer. Did you watch the basketball game last night?
I did, yes.
Your thoughts?
Nobody ever rips the NCAA for starting a game on a 9:20, but they rip Major League Baseball every time for those games. I thought Virginia would win. I was pulling for Texas Tech.
Why? Tony Bennett is the most likable guy around.
He's a very likable guy, but I thought that Texas Tech had a better tournament. I thought they won games more convincingly. And there were some people I know who went to Virginia that I'm not real big fans of.
All right, so tell me. Well, that makes sense.
That's family members, so
tell me,
they live elsewhere. I don't have to say anything.
All right, so tell me who you had at the beginning of the tournament to win the whole thing. Well, I tell you I had Virginia.
I had Michigan State, actually, to win the whole thing. And I just didn't feel that there was a stat early on, Les, about Duke, and it said no team that shoots the ball as not recklessly, as poorly from the three-point line had ever won a national championship, or maybe even gotten to the Final Four. And to me, that was their flaw.
That team would have won one or two championships if they stayed together, I would think.
Which, the
Duke?
The Duke team? Now, there's a situation where you could say they've got the most talent.
Right.
Of probably any team.
It shows you how long it takes to work a team together.
Yeah, but they didn't win.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. You can catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as well as Saturday. Post time is 6 p.m. You can catch early action all day long, starting at noon with simulcast action. Road to the Derby contests every Saturday through April 20th. You can scout this year's Kentucky Derby contenders for a chance to win some cash. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We'll break down the AFC North when we get back. More sports and Les Levine, exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Naturestone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home.
Get Naturestone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
What's up, guys? Just really excited for the season. Just want you guys to know that I'm working really hard. We're going to have a great season, and let's go Browns.
Yeah, you know.
They've had some quarterbacks here who could pass for Goofy from
Right.
Disney, but that's pretty good.
But scoring, but when you were handicapping who the top quarterbacks were before the draft, and you kept hearing what a great leader of men and how these guys follow him, that's why they do that.
Yeah, apparently. He's got Patrick Mahomes' real voice when he does that.
So if Patrick Mahomes would do that, he'd sound okay?
Yeah, he'd sound like he wasn't using helium at all.
I wonder how much Patrick paid for those tickets for the basketball game.
Yeah. What did somebody tweet? They said another team that Patrick Mahomes has made better without touching the ball, or another team that lost late without Patrick Mahomes touching the ball. You know, because of the overtime period against the Patriots.
Let's take a look at the Browns' offense now, and we'll compare them to the other AFC teams. Here you go. You've got Baker Mayfield at quarterback, Nick Chubb, and Duke Johnson, at least for the moment, in the backfield. Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and David Njoku. Looks pretty good on paper, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty young still. I get it, but
the dreaded Steelers.
Yeah.
You like the what the Browns have better than Roethlisberger and Connor, as well as Ridley and Juju Smith-Schuster? He gets it by name alone. Dante Moncrief and Vance McDonald. I mean, we don't know much about these guys. We look at Connor and Smith-Schuster as fill-ins, right?
Oh no, I think they're better than that.
No,
I think
but
Connor's a fill-in, definitely, but I think Smith-Schuster, I think he was a Pro Bowler last year. I think he's better than Jarvis Landry. So he's not Odell Beckham Jr., but I would put him in between Landry and.
All right, here you have the Ravens. Lamar Jackson will be their quarterback. Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards, the running backs. Willie Snead, Chris Moore, and then Nick Boyle. I don't know the average fan knows that much about those guys.
No, and I just think the big question there still, Lamar Jackson's an incredible athlete who had a terrific season. You just don't know what the evolution of him as a passer in the NFL is going to be, and how long it's going to take for him to get even close to where Mayfield is right now as an accurate thrower.
And how long it'll take the other defenses to figure these guys out. Here are the Bengals projected to finish fourth. You've got Andy Dalton and Joe Mixon, the running back, Giovanni Bernard, A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, and Tyler Eifert. I like Eifert, one of the better ones.
Yeah, I like Eifert. I like Green, obviously. Mixon's a good back when he stays healthy and has his head straight. And Dalton has been a pretty good quarterback. They just don't have anything else around those guys.
Yeah, and they won't have Hugh Jackson.
Well, are you talking pluses now or minuses?
I'm just talking.
No, I think they're in for a long season because of where they are defensively and in their offensive line. I just don't think they're going to be a competitive.
All right, so we threw
team.
out the names of the units. What do you think?
I still think Ben Roethlisberger is the best quarterback in the division, and until he has a year where he proves me wrong, I don't think you can elevate Baker Mayfield ahead of him.
Isn't that funny how you could take one guy and he changes the whole process of thinking how that division is?
Yeah. I mean, how about you? Where would you put Mayfield in that list of quarterbacks?
Of ones that I want?
Of the ones that are in the division.
Yeah, he's second.
Yeah, that's what I would do,
too. He's ahead
too.
of Dalton. I think he's clearly ahead of Lamar Jackson.
I would put Dalton fourth in this group right now. That's how good I think Lamar Jackson was last year.
Yeah. Well,
you know, and the thing about him, Les, he looks like a guy who's going to get hurt because he runs a lot.
Jackson?
Yeah, but a lot of those runs are so, they're plays. They're actual plays in the playbook, which they're not him scrambling around in the backfield, turning his back to the line of scrimmage and running into a guy he doesn't see.
But he's still getting hit.
He is.
Or will be getting hit.
He is.
Whereas the Browns, at least the way their offensive line was last year, they did a pretty good job keeping him safe and dry and not muddy.
Yeah, and I thought Mayfield did a great job at really not running unless he absolutely had to.
Right.
And he could and pick up some yards, but he's smart. He knows that he's most dangerous when he's looking downfield and the ball is in his hand still, and that's where he really hurt teams. Just think of the plays that broke down that he just made teams pay big time for.
But he didn't force it.
No.
And he didn't force the running. The running, he took what they gave him, and he got out of bounds as soon as he could. So he understands that thought process of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Browns fans have so much reason to be excited just by his season alone last year, because he showed that whatever it is that quarterbacks have, and we started hearing about so-and-so has the it factor. I heard a couple of Browns players say that about Jake Delhomme when they signed him. I mean, everybody's looking for it all the time.
Well,
DeShone Kizer clearly didn't have it, and that was my big argument when people would say, well, he didn't get a chance. He's a big guy with a good arm. He just never got a chance. But you could tell watching him, he had no internal clock. He never knew when the pressure was coming. He didn't know how to sidestep and keep looking downfield and make a defense pay.
And he took the hit.
And he took the hit. And Mayfield has shown himself to be a much more seasoned quarterback, even as a rookie.
We've got a Facebook question of the day. We asked you what potentially could derail the Browns' 2019 season. Let's take a look at some of the responses you had. Joseph William Reitmeyer, an injury to Mayfield that keeps him off the field for an extended period of time, and it's game over. Larry Pantages, nothing. Kitchen reminds me of Jerry Glanville, and Baker is apparently has a personality like Dandy Don Meredith. How could anything go wrong?
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
Glenn Berger says Freddie Kitchens being an unproven rookie head coach is a problem. He is an experienced assistant coach, but he will have to face things head on as a head coach that he never had to handle as an assistant coach. And I hope he can make the transition with little difficulty. Glenn, that's what I've been saying all along. I'm rooting for him, but that has to be a question mark at this point. Rick May says injuries could play a major part. Also potentially underestimating the other teams in the division. Big Ben will be playing with a chip on his shoulder, and Jackson could improve as the Ravens quarterback. I think we touched on that. Dennis Davis, besides injuries, the defense not improving. Last year, the offense was average at best. Defense was average at best. They need to improve this year for the Browns to really go to the next level. Doug, don't know how to pronounce the last name. Doug says an inexperienced head coach. Hope he does well. I like his chances, but he has a lot of egos to stroke, including the owner. Timothy Bober, coaching, first-time head coach and new defensive and special teams coordinators. It may take time for the players to get comfortable with those new schemes.
All legitimate points.
All legitimate points.
They weren't a dominant defense last year.
That's not over-picking on the Browns, is it?
No. If anything, I think people have been a little too laudatory. Is that the word?
Yes. Maybe.
It doesn't sound right to me. But I think they've been a little too complimentary of the Browns right now, because, as Kitchens and Dorsey have both said, you don't win anything in March or April, and they went 5-3 against teams that they never beat a team with a winning record last year.
And they went 7-8.
I don't mean to sound like Colin Cowherd here, because I think he's he's obviously doing, yes, that's a great way to say it. That's show business. But clearly they're not going to walk out there and go 14-2 next year because they have good talent.
You've been studying the quarterback crop?
I have not.
Well, make a guess. Where's Dwayne Haskins going?
This process always amazes me, because guys initially get high grades for what they did in college.
Right.
Then they get picked apart and the grades keep going down. I saw a headline today, I don't know if it was Pro Football Talk or somewhere else, where teams, quietly, privately mentioning big concerns about Haskins. I think he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I think his arm is too good for him to be anything other than that. I just don't know how long it might take.
Have you committed to memory the new name of the arena in downtown Cleveland?
The Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse?
Fieldhouse.
Yeah. It doesn't, there's not, like I kidded around on Twitter and said The Rock, but The Rock doesn't, you don't call Rockets a rock. So,
No,
I mean.
But he's got.
I don't, there's nothing there that feels comfortable to me. Could you just call it the Fieldhouse? I'll meet you at the Fieldhouse?
Yeah, but when was the last time you said Fieldhouse?
Yeah. I don't know. When I was watching Hoosiers?
Maybe.
Nah, that might have been it.
Could be 216-575-0403. We got a voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can call up and leave us a message at 216-200-65. I can't read that. Help me out.
6650.
6650.
That number again is 216-200-6650.
I better get that one down to memory. That's where you can call us anytime and leave us a message. And don't leave us War and Peace. A nice little Cliff Notes version.
Like a How Come Quickie.
Exactly.
Mike.
Let's take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Less Levine with Bud Shaw continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
This date in sports history, first games, you see the different years up there. First games were played on this date at the following places: Fenway Park, Ebbets Field, and the Houston Astrodome. You ever been in the Astrodome?
I have, yeah. I used to go down there and covered the old Oilers with.
How tough was it to get used to it?
It was tough. It was the precursor to a lot of those places that are domed and impossible to hear in. The loudest place I've ever been is that Seattle Kingdom when the Mariners-Indians series in '95. When Lofton shut the whole place down by scoring from second.
I just saw that again recently, and I forgot how poorly Randy Johnson played it. I didn't have that great memory to say he. I don't know if he would have gotten him, but he was totally out of it.
Yeah, he was totally out of it, and I think he later admitted it. He never gave it any consideration, and it was so loud he couldn't. It's not like he could hear anybody say, "Turn around, look at him."
All right, let's take a look at the quarterback situation. We don't have to worry about it as Browns fans right now, but right here you've got it set up. This is NFL.com. And they've got Kyler Murray, Oklahoma, number 1, Dwayne Haskins of Ohio State, number 2, Drew Lock of Missouri, followed by Daniel Jones. And who would have thought that at the beginning of the season that Haskins would be anywhere in the top 5, then number 1 until they decided what Murray was going to do. And now he's probably number 2, which is a considerable amount of money.
Yeah, I think Murray's a really interesting guy because he's smaller, obviously, than Baker Mayfield even.
It's hard to believe.
Mayfield, at least, he wouldn't have a lot of height, but he looks solidly built.
Right. Do you think that Baker Mayfield has changed the way they look at smaller quarterbacks?
I think the rules have changed the way they look at smaller quarterbacks. They're doing their best to protect these quarterbacks now. And, you can't lay a hand on them. You certainly can't touch them anywhere above the shoulders. And except for that one incident last year, and who was that against when Mayfield got absolutely crushed in the open field? Was that Kansas City? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Jackson, I don't know. But they've done a pretty good job of giving these guys leeway to slide, to not get hit. And I think a lot of teams look at it now and they've changed their opinion about what the longevity of smaller quarterbacks could
Lance
be in this
Zierlein of NFL.com had this to say about the up-and-coming quarterbacks, and there you have it right here. After speaking with a few different teams, I definitely get the feeling Dwayne Haskins' draft stock was more media-driven than team-driven. I see Haskins falling on draft day, and I think the chances of increasing that he's not the second quarterback off the board. Dwayne Haskins says, this chip is on my shoulder, and it's staying right there.
Yeah, good for him. That's the way you have to think.
If you need something, if it works, it works.
Look, we don't know, I was pushing it this time last year. I thought Darnold would be the guy. Young, big,
right,
strong, mobile.
Prototype.
But they're looking to play these guys younger and younger, and they want to see that they have a total grasp of what they're doing offensively. And we know from what people have said privately that Mayfield blew the Browns away in that regard, and Darnold did not. So maybe the same thing is happening in these pre-draft meetings with Haskins and Murray and others.
So you're not thinking, or they're not thinking of letting the quarterback play, sit rather with the clipboard? They're not. Those days might be over.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of it. We know Kansas City did it, obviously, with Mahomes, and they did it because they had Alex Smith in front of them. That's a lot different, I think, than having, Tyrod Taylor or someone else, or maybe even Josh Rosen in front of you in Arizona.
If you missed it, the Indians won today 8-2, 4 home runs by people hitting their first home runs of the year. And the Tribe now steps ahead of Detroit and goes in the first place in the AF Central. We'll take a look at that. And what I also want to take a look at, Bud, is a look at the MLB standings, how bad people thought Cleveland was with their start because they lost opening day. That's worth like 6 losses in this city.
Yeah. It certainly is.
To overcome it. But you look at some teams who are ahead of where they should be, and then there's surprises. It looks like maybe they turned it upside down. We'll talk and see if those fan bases should give up early. So we'll take an early look at the MLB standings. Sokolowski's University Inn, their standings with me is number 1. I've been there almost every Thursday for 25 years, and won't be there this Thursday, but maybe tomorrow I will be there. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn, located in Tremont, 5 minutes out of downtown, plenty of free parking, established in 1923, which makes them Cleveland's oldest owned and family-operated restaurant, and the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. Only 5 in the country get it each and every year. We'll come on back in a moment with Bud Shaw exclusively here on cleveland.com. Andy Baskin of 92.3 will join us tomorrow.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt. Eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
But let's take a look at this day in Les Levine history. We talked about Ebbets Field and Fenway Park and the Astrodome. Well, it was the first wiffle ball game played at Jarvis Levine.
I said Jarvis Levine.
Just a bit outside. Two months.
Again, my favorite haircut. That's what really never gets old.
Time for a How Come Quickie. How come the important part of March Madness actually happens in April, as it did last night? Come on.
I like it.
Thanks. Most of spring training is in winter. How come? 216-575-0403. Major League Baseball and their standings. Let's pop some up here and comment on them as we go. It's only 10 or 11 games here, but the Cleveland Indians now, with a record of 7-3, they lead Detroit by half a game, Minnesota by a game, and Chicago falling out at 4 back already, and Kansas City 4.5 back. It's about what you figured, right? We can come back here in 2 months, and maybe Detroit and Minnesota will be switched. But that's pretty much it.
I don't think Chicago and Kansas City will get out of that bottom feeder role.
All right, let's take a look at what else we have. That would be the AL. That's the AL East, actually. Despite what it says, don't believe what it says behind that curtain. AL East standings. Tampa Bay. I don't know that they can keep that record going or percentage going, but they have a chance to beat a lot of teams. Their pitching is really good.
Yeah, I think they're, of the names up there, that what jumps out at you isn't that they're at the top. It's Baltimore, holding its own right now, and it's certainly the Boston Red Sox at 3-9.
How can they be holding their own when Chris Davis is like 0 for 49 or 0 for 51?
How about that? Here's where we're at is in 2019. We're cutting into games to show his hitless streak.
It used to be, there's a no-hitter in Baltimore.
Or you were watching Pete Rose's at bats. Now you're watching this guy, pop up to the infield.
Here's the real AL West standings. Seattle, what a start. They've the best in history for them at 10-2. And Houston, people complaining about that if they're Houston fans, but I don't know. Can the best player in baseball is Mike Trout. Can he help get the Angels back into things?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the question about those contracts. And he's certainly a great player and a guy who, if anybody's going to get paid that way, it should be him. But he's still one player in a lineup, and you can pitch around guys sometimes.
You can. And then we continue on in the NL Central. Milwaukee on top. They're really good, by the way. They got a 2-game edge. St. Louis at 500, 3-7 for the Cubs. Joe Madden apparently won't be back next year, unless he pulls a rabbit out of his hat. Yeah. Cincinnati, terrible start, 1-8.
It's hard to overcome 1-8.
Especially with teams that are going to be bunched ahead of you, no question about that. Let's continue on the NL East now with Philadelphia with Bryce Harper at 7-2. The Mets at 6-3, Atlanta 6-4, and Washington 4-5. Miami 3-7. So that's about what it should be, except a lot of people still think that Washington can win it because of their pitchers, even without Bryce Harper.
I think it's going to be maybe the most competitive division in baseball because the Braves are a good team. Philly's going to be up there most of the year, and Washington is still a team.
And unlike some other things, Bryce Harper's going to get booed incessantly at the 9 or 10 games at Washington. It's not
and in Philly, and if he doesn't hit.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. My Santa Claus can't make it?
Well, his first game, I mean, it was like his third at bat before there was a smattering of boos, Now, he's gotten off to a pretty good start, and they have, and that should make everything, go pretty smoothly for him.
Let's go out west where the Dodgers probably won't have any problems until the word playoff comes up. And they lead the West. How about San Diego at 7-4, putting out all that money from Machado. Arizona at 5-5, Colorado and San Francisco. San Francisco with Bruce Bochy's last year as manager.
Yeah, I think San Diego, that's become a good baseball town, and if they get any kind of a consistent start there, I think they could really catch some fire this year.
All right, assuming the Indians get their healthy guys back, do you expect them to just roll?
I don't know roll, but I mean, I still think Minnesota's got a pretty good lineup. But I think, I think these guys are so good in starting pitching, and Clevinger it's not like he's got a season-ending injury. They're probably being very cautious, and as most of these things go, he comes back before you think he's going to or before they say he's going to.
Let's go to BP, who's in Pepper Pike tonight. Hello, BP.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Good. What's up, BP?
Well, hey, Les and Mr. Bud, I just figured last night was the end of the college basketball season, and tonight's the end of the NBA season in Cleveland, so I thought I'd give you guys a call.
Sounds good. What do you got?
I know you guys were reading off the phone book, the standings, so, that was scintillating radio, but I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents about I'm still hoping the Cavs can,
it better be
win.
It better be scintillating.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't. Yeah, I hope we can win the Zion Williamson sweepstakes. What do you think of that one?
Well, that's a scintillating thought too. Then.
Yeah, I just assume that it's fixed for New York to get it, but what do I know?
It's funny because I was talking to somebody today. I said, James Dolan is not the nicest guy in the world. I don't know if the NBA is all that enthralled with him and what he's done there for the last 30 years. Phoenix Suns won the lottery last year, and they're still not relevant. Cleveland has proven to be a great, basketball town.
How about if you have Zion Williamson along with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant? Could that be made into a good team?
Oh, definitely. But I still don't see why would Kevin Durant leave the most amazing team in the history of basketball. He's not a hard worker. He's not one of these overachievers. So why is everybody assuming he's going to leave that fantastic situation? You know what I mean?
Well, if
he could have put an end to all that speculation and hasn't. So I think that's what's fed it a little bit. People want to get the vibe from him that this is where he wants to be and stay, and they haven't gotten that vibe for whatever reason, and maybe they're wrong in the way they're reading it.
We talk about the guy who wins it for Cleveland, which was LeBron James, or in baseball, who knows who that might be. There's got to be something to it. Where's Durant from?
Who? Durant's from the Washington, D.C. area.
D.C., yeah.
Well, maybe there's something intriguing about bringing basketball back to New York.
Don't you think he's gotten ripped enough, BP, that he found the easy way out? Maybe he just decided that he wants to go somewhere and be the guy and build a team that wins a title.
And maybe going as long as they have gone, I'm talking about Golden State right now, maybe they're not the favorite to win next year.
To be honest, LeBron James won 3 championships. Curry and those guys are going in for is this going to be their 4th championship?
Yeah.
So, and Durant will be going for his 3rd. These guys are going to start passing LeBron big time. Why would you give that up? Kevin Durant could go down in the next 2 or 3 years as better than LeBron.
That's an easy answer. They don't think of it like you and the other fans do.
Well, I think these guys, they're making a ton of money out there. They're going into a brand new building next year out in San Francisco. And, why would Kevin Durant, I don't see why he would leave all that, to go to New York and play, with a bunch of, who knows who. So I just don't see it happening. Now Draymond Green, I heard today on ESPN that he is looking for some big money this offseason. Now I could see them getting rid of on him. Not giving him some kind of big money, letting him walk. But I don't see Kevin Durant leaving.
Maybe you're right. Maybe the season that LeBron had in L.A. is, kind of will be seen as a sobering event for guys like Durant and other guys. You can't just walk into any market because you're a great player and suddenly transform that team into a championship contender.
And go into the finals so many years in a row where you're playing almost an extra season.
Like me, I went to about 5 or 6 Cavs games this year, but, in previous years, I'd go to a lot of playoff games, and you guys would go down there too and, enjoy all that great. Now that's all ending tonight, so, you look at LeBron. His season's been over since early March, so, it's quite a comeuppance for him. And, again, I don't see Kevin Durant leaving Golden State. Klay Thompson is also up. He could leave. He can go to the Lakers, but I don't see that happening either. So
his father is there as the radio guy. Hey, BP, thanks for helping us with that scintillating sports talk.
Adios.
Okay. Thank you very much. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing Sunday through Wednesday and Saturday. Post time is 6 p.m. Open early every day for simulcast action. Catch the excitement, the road to the Derby contest every Saturday through April 20th. Scout out this year's Kentucky Derby contenders for a chance to win big cash. All at Northfield Park, where it's free admission, free parking every day. Bud Shaw and I return in a moment. We are seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Nature Stone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Nature Stone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Nature Stone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Andy Baskin from 92.3 The Fan with Baskin and Phelps. He will join us on Thursday. It'll be the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff. You can follow us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/more sports and less Levine with new content posted each and every day. So Cleveland Bill writes in, he says, the biggest thing I'll be looking for this fall is whether the Browns will show they know how to win. The team knows how to acquire talent and how to talk. Will they be able to win those 3-point games? Excellent question. Mm-hmm. Excellent question. Lee says, how will the Cavaliers be expected to take off next year in the new arena? That's the Rocket part of that.
Aha, the takeoff.
All right, I have a complaint against, I'm lodging the complaint against John Patrick, who is an excellent how-come-quickie person. But he can't grade them before I read them. He says, here are a couple quickies, and they're both good.
You'll be the judge of that.
You and I will be the judge. In fact, I'm going to call you like Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right, so here's a couple. How come to a snowman, everything smells like carrots? All right?
I like it.
That's a good one.
I like it.
How about this one? How come if a parsley farmer gets sued, they can garnish his wages?
That's more right up your alley.
But do you think, right.
Yeah.
But do you think he should have graded them already?
No.
Let it get out there. Let it do whatever wine does. What does wine do? Sits.
It ages.
It ages. No, there's another word for it.
Okay.
Let's go to Dick, who's in Dayton. Dick, good evening.
Hey, Les and guest, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, Dick, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I like, what's the new name for the Cavaliers?
They don't have a new name, but their arena does. It's the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Yeah, but I liked it when it was Quicken Loan. You know?
Can still call it the Q. I'll bet you nobody will correct you.
Nobody will correct me.
They went out of their way to take the Q out of it, bud. I don't know.
I don't know, but you know what? They better get some draft players because, my gosh, we won the championship in 2016, and now we look like we don't exist or something, right?
How's this sound? How you ready? The Zion Williamson Arena.
Yeah.
Even if he gets drafted by the Knicks.
I just wanted to tell you, you were talking about the Browns. I get to talk to Dennis Maniloff a little bit. I write him, letters and stuff. He's one of the best,
Yeah. Good guy.
Good guy, and I just wanted to tell you that, it's kind of, I was surprised. I got a card from my cousin in Olmsted Falls. Like I said, I was from Wellington. My birthday is Saturday. I was born the year the Indians won the pennant, and I have a birthday the same day as Pete Rose, Baker Mayfield, and Loretta Lynn.
That is quite a collection.
Well, there's got to be something that ties them all together. Can you think of anything?
I can't, but I think maybe what he's suggesting is that the Indians will win
Which year are you talking about? 54? 48?
Yeah. I was sick. I didn't remember, but 48. I was born in Lakewood, Ohio.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks for calling, Dick.
Yeah. Hey, and the Browns. Say hello to Jimmy and Doug if they're on. Okay.
Jimmy and Doug. Jimmy
Yeah,
Donovan
Jimmy
and Doug. Doug
and
Deacon?
what's his name? The other guy, Tony Grossi.
I know Tony. I'll talk to him
Tony.
tomorrow and let him know
we're
you were
gonna see him
Tell
tomorrow.
Jimmy and Doug that Dick said hello. Dick
All
from
right,
Dayton.
I'll do that. But we've got a lucrative speaking engagement, the two of us, along with Tony Grossi.
That's right. And where will that be,
I
Les?
enjoy your show, Les. I
All
really
right.
like it.
Thanks, Dick.
You're welcome.
And where will that be? That lucrative.
The lucrative speaking.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away where fans can find you.
Well, wouldn't you want people to know?
Yes, at the Mayfield Country Club, we will be there.
There you go.
And usually when me and Tony, you, Tony, and I, you, Tony, and me, usually when the three of us do that, it's the worst weather of the year.
It's usually the worst weather of the year, and usually, to be fair, 98.7% of the questions are directed toward Grossi.
Yes.
Because of the
maybe
Browns.
we don't have to go.
So I think it'll be even higher this year. That was back when they were no good.
Why don't we just have a nice, great dinner?
And we'll just sit there.
And we'll sit there, and we will ask questions.
Of Grossi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
I'm all for that.
He's getting paid more than we are.
He's not getting paid enough to be on there with us. Yeah.
Nobody's getting paid.
No, this
lucrative
is
speaking engagement.
Yes.
All right. What do you think the biggest question will be tomorrow night? It's you, me, and Tony Grossi.
I think it's going to be a lot about. I think we saw it in the Facebook question tonight. I think it's going to be a lot about Freddie Kitchens and what kind of a learning curve there might be there. I think everybody's on board with what Dorsey has done. I don't think there's any big questions about. Usually at this time of year, Les, we do it earlier in the year. We do it earlier in the year, but this thing we're going to do there, you would think would be heavy draft centric,
and it won't be.
And it won't be. I mean, I haven't heard anybody mention the draft. Anybody that I did a speaking engagement today at a Kiwanis Club in Lakewood.
Oh, another lucrative.
Nobody really had anything to ask about the draft.
How do you live?
Not on my fees, that's for sure. But no, I mean, at this time of year, everybody would be banging the table for what they want to see the Browns do. And part of it is obviously they picked 17 and not in the first 5. But it's mostly, I think, because they found their quarterback.
Right.
They just got Odell Beckham. People look at this draft as maybe a chance to fill holes on the offensive and defensive lines.
Somebody said it earlier.
And that's not real sexy.
That the front office has done its job. Mm-hmm. They don't need to do anything else. Just go out and see what the coach is going to do and the coaching staff will do with these players. And I think that's pretty right, that we don't expect any big splash. They've picked up a safety who probably will start. They probably have their lineup pretty close to what it should be. And when was the last time we said that about the Browns?
Yeah, but we have to remember, too, that they traded away a starting offensive guard.
That's correct.
So I would assume that one of their first picks is going to be to replenish that. And I think knowing Dorsey, that he sees defensive line and thinks that you can never have enough of those big, fast,
like
agile guys. And it's Jeffrey Simmons, I think, is a guy who comes into the league with an injury and some issues, and it looks like that kind of a player that Dorsey would.
First of all, it doesn't have that much to fight off.
Would give him the benefit of the doubt, especially if he's sitting there in the second round.
All right, that'll do it for us. Great job by Bud Shaw, as always. Tomorrow night, Andy Baskin. On Thursday night, it'll be Dennis Maniloff. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 Eastern Time, right here exclusively on cleveland.com. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.